So I just can't believe that he came out with that crap last night. Like, to come out with the line, I've scored, or who's scored more game-winning goals in the last 6 months? You or me?
Yeah. I mean, what was he thinking? You know, how long has Tungy been playing with us now? Like 2 weeks?
Yeah, like 4 sessions?
I reckon Tungy scored more game-winning goals in the last 2 weeks than Blowy has in the last year.
And he's only scored 2 goals. I mean, the only one I remember Blowy scoring, I think, was us going to Div 1 last year.
Yeah. Was that header from a corner?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think all of his goals have been headers from corners.
Yeah. Yeah. And he scored 2 goals this year, and he scored, 12 goals last year? And maybe 4 goals the year before that. I
All of those are him
scored...
just big tall bloke standing in the middle of the box, and we just chip it up to him.
I scored nearly 600 goals last year. I'm already on 60 goals this year.
The level of disrespect.
Like, holy crap. Like, he whacks shots off from outside the box, and they go fucking row Z and out for a corner down the other end of the field. And yet I'm popping them off from like 40 yards and just like, no look, outside of the foot, top bins. Like, jeez, man. Wow. Anyway, how you been, bro?
Yeah, look, I've been fine. I mean, I was putting up with the same stuff last night, so.
Yeah, well. It baffles me.
Yeah, really does. And it's not just you, you know, because there are other players in the team who have also scored a lot more goals than he has.
Yeah.
Obviously, me.
Yeah,
Princess
obviously. And, like, no disrespect to Blake, because he is our defensive anchor. Like, he's not there to score goals. But, I mean, his rating this year ain't great, is it? I was going to bring it up to him, but, again,
and
says he's going to be here.
Exactly. We're allowed to tear into him because he was supposed to be joining us as a guest on this podcast
and we
this
have
weekend.
not been able to get hold of him all day.
So hopefully he listens to this one and feels guilty.
He'll magically appear at like 7:45. Are we jumping on, boys? So, yeah. All fun and games. All fun and games indeed. Got a few stories this week for you. 3 in particular, and a review that we want to get into. Which I set this up. We spoke about this before the show. We set this up. We're going to do our chat and opening. And then someone was supposed to ask me a question. To set up the review. And I paused. Indeed. And I waited and I left a few openings and the question never came.
Yeah. All right, so how was Assassin's Creed Mirage? You've been playing that the last week or so.
Thank you for asking. It was amazing. No, I joke around, but no, it is a really good game. It's what's the way to put it? It's a real homage to the original games. It feels great. The combat, for the most part, is really good. Bit of timing issues. It might just be me with trying to parry. Story-wise, I think it's got a really strong story. It really builds and shows why Bassam does the things he does in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I do have a slight issue with a bit of the story, without giving spoilers away. I won't go into. But that that's a personal preference. Apart from that, there's no fault in this game. There really isn't.
So with that gameplay stuff, like the parrying, for example,
Yeah.
you think that's more of a you issue than the
I
game?
do because yeah, no, I do think it's a me issue. I think my timing's off on it. I think either I was going a little bit too early or a little bit too late. Sometimes I felt like I was hitting it bang on time, and it wasn't working, and that then becomes a bit of an issue if you've got like 3 or 4 enemies around you, and they're all coming in to try and hit you at the same time, and like it becomes quite confusing on who you can and can't hit, like with the parry.
Yeah.
In previous years, like the earlier ones, like you used to be able to, like, even if the attack was coming in from behind, you used to be able to parry it. Like your bloke could just sort of jump around and parry it away. You don't seem to be able to do that this year. It might also be an issue. I might have missed something somewhere, and I might not be locking onto a character, and maybe that's why I'm not quite getting the timing right. But yeah, I think it's a me issue. It's an issue I have with the game, but I think it's more of a me issue than the game has a problem with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Much like the story issue that I had with it. Obviously, you've still got the classic Assassin's Creed problems with the parkour and free running, where you're sort of running up stuff and I'm gonna climb this wall, and you get like the slight angle wrong, and he just runs up and jumps down. It's like, dude, literally, just turn half a degree and you make the same thing. Like, and you actually make it. So, look,
suddenly jumps sideways or jumps backwards off a wall or whatever. Yeah. The angle is just slightly wrong.
Yeah, so, there's a big palace in the centre of the city. Pretty obvious from the start of the game that's where you're going to finish up. And, the final part of the game's going to be. And, or at least battle-wise in the city. Anyway, so, sneaking through there and killing guards and climbing up this palace to find the entry point. And there's one of the beams that sticks out from a corner of a wall. And you got to go across to a balcony. Now, the balcony's like, literally, you wouldn't even need to, like, fully parkour, jump across to it. If it was anywhere else in the game and you were just running, he'd just sort of do the step across.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure I got it right, lined it up, pressed the jump, went that way. 4 stories.
Jeez.
Now, I have finished the story. It took me, I think I said to you on last night's session that it was probably around 20 hours-ish. I think it was between about 15 and 20.
Okay, so it's fairly short.
It is fairly short. Like you can streamline it and do it in about 15, sorry, very easily. I did do a few other little bits. There was one part that I did 2 missions that were very unnecessary, but I wanted to, go through the whole experience. One of those missions stuffed me up a little bit. You got to follow these patterns that appear through your eagle vision, and I sort of lost track of where I was supposed to be going at one point. But so in saying that though, like I was very worried about how short this game was going to be. I don't have an issue with it being this short. I thoroughly enjoyed it being this short. On the flip side of that, it does make me miss the longer games. I think that
right.
I think, as we've said before, there really needs to be that balance. At least from me.
I
Excuse
think
me.
it's probably a similar length to the first game, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But even Assassin's Creed 2, I feel, achieved that balance where I don't know the exact numbers on that, but I believe it's probably more like 30 hours,
Yeah.
25 to 30 hours, rather than 15 to 20.
Well,
If,
this
if, if you're including a balanced number of side missions and bits and pieces,
that would
just
be
explore.
yeah. I think that would be to do everything. I think you could actually streamline it and do it a lot quicker. If you were
Oh yeah, of course.
streamlining it, you'd probably do it in about 20.
Yeah, yeah. But then if you were doing everything, it would probably take
Yeah.
more like 50.
And
You
this
know.
this is the same. Like I've picked up all the side missions, and I haven't done the DLC mission that came with it, and I haven't done all of the Tales of Baghdad missions that pop up. I've only done one or two of those. So, like, there's still a lot of content in this game for me to do.
So what is the setting like? Is it entirely in Baghdad?
Yes. Apart
Okay.
from there's a little place just outside of Baghdad that you can't get to once you're sort of in the city,
Yeah.
which is like the Assassin's hideout. You go back
Yeah.
there once or twice throughout the game, but then like you've got the city of Baghdad, and then there's like a bit of desert around it, and then a little town up in the top corner, which is where you sort of grew up.
Because for me, one of the things that kept you really engaged in the first few Assassin's Creed games,
Yeah,
even if they were on the shorter end of what we would consider kind of average for a story-based game these days, was that you would be playing the game for a while and it would feel great, and then there would be this juncture in the story and suddenly you unlocked a new city and you had all of this new stuff to explore and new missions to do, and
yeah,
that happened several times through the game because there were like 4 5 cities or whatever in total.
yeah,
So in the case of the first game, it's like 3 or 4 cities.
yeah,
So even though there is a lot of stuff that's the same between them, like the environments are pretty similar, because you're exploring a new place after 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours of playing the game, you feel like the game is actually longer and more substantial than it is.
yeah, yeah. With this, it is very very different to that. Like you have the desert area on the outside, which you can go and explore. There's not really much there. There's a couple of bits and pieces to go find out there, like collectible stuff and some like side missions and stuff like that. The city itself is it's basically a big circle and has a big wall. There's gate points to go in. The tops of those walls, or the top of that wall, is a no-go zone. You know,
Right.
you high alert, guards everywhere, sort of thing. Different parts of the city say you should only go here if you're this level, like ranked this level of assassin.
Yeah.
Once you sort of move through and get into the city a bit more, there's another wall. There's no gate that I've found so far. The only way to get over that wall is to go over that wall.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole other part of the city within there. And then you go a bit further in, and there's another wall. And the palace is on the other side of that wall. And there's only like 2 or 3 entry points over that wall.
Right.
And that one is the main entrance through the gate, which you sort of can only go through towards the end of the game once the gate you can unlock the gate. And then there's a couple of points where like buildings sort of overlap. You can get up onto a building and jump over the wall that way. So again, like there's a lot to love about the game. I don't. I think Assassin's Creed's got to a point now where it's transcended gaming.
What do you mean?
It's a franchise that is just okay. The video games are the main point of call for them, but the franchise itself is so much bigger. Like, we've had movies, we've had comics, we've had web series, there's been novels, artwork, you name it. Like, Assassin's Creed's just... It's one of those games now, or franchises that, you know, someone like you or me, we're going to go play these games because we love the franchise. But your average Joe, who only plays like 2 or 3 games a year, this is probably one of the games that they're going to pick up. Like, Assassin's Creed can almost do no wrong.
Maybe. I think some long-term fans of the franchise have been, a little bit put off by the RPG elements in some of the previous games. Yeah. Some love that stuff. So, you can have opinions either way on that. But
they still played them. They still keep coming back.
Yeah, I guess so.
And to be honest, those that have decided not to come back are probably the ones that got burnt out with there being too much Assassin stuff.
Yeah, I think that's potentially one of the only issues that they might have over the next few years, is that there have been so many Assassin's Creed games now. How do you keep people interested in it? I think maybe like this game, it might earn some fans back or earn some new fans based on the fact that it's going back to the old way of doing things. But you're only going to keep those people for so long if you kept releasing games that were built like this.
Yep.
And then if you were to keep releasing the more RPG-based games, again, you'd only keep certain people for so long if they're all fairly similar. So it just runs the risk, I think, of becoming a bit oversaturated.
Well, again, this is why I think the direction that I think they're going in and seem to be going in is the right way to do it for me. Where we get a nice balance between the original style of game, the stealthy, in and out, get your assassin, get your kill, your full RPG style game like Odyssey, like Valhalla, and then throw some new stuff in the mix. Like when they did that 15-year anniversary unveiling thing earlier this year, one of them that they sort of seemed to announce or tease was that they were going to look at like maybe a horror style, and they were going to lean into that sort of genre with the game. I'd love that. Like mix it up. Add something new in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't, just because it's an Assassin's Creed game doesn't mean it has to be an Assassin's Creed game. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't have to be an action adventure. It doesn't have to be an RPG. Like, take what works about Assassin's Creed, which is realistically the story elements, as well as, the Hidden Blade, the assassinations. But let's mix it up. Let's maybe look at a survival horror with an assassin.
Sure.
Or, something down the line of like the witch trials or something like that, where you're being accused of being a witch and you've got to use your assassin skills to survive.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like something like that. Like there's lots of ways you can mix this franchise up to keep it fresh.
Sure.
And let's face it, Ubisoft need the wins at the moment.
Yeah.
They're having an identity crisis within their company. And, for as we've seen over the last couple of years, Assassin's Creed itself has had a bit of an identity crisis.
Yeah, I think so.
But I don't think Assassin's Creed needs to be tied down to one thing. And that's where I mean it's sort of Assassin's Creed has transcended what it originally was, and as a gaming franchise, if that makes sense.
Yeah, look, I think I slightly misunderstood or couldn't grasp where you were going with your original statement that it is transcending gaming.
Yeah.
I thought initially you meant transcended the gaming industry as a whole, and I anywhere close to being true, but transcended what originally set out to be.
Yeah.
Then yes, I think it has.
Yeah. Anyway, as far as the score goes, it's a solid 8. It's fantastic. It's sold really, really well. I think Ubisoft put out a tweet saying that it was their biggest. Now, the tweet admittedly was worded very, I haven't got it in front of me, but was worded very well in a sense that it was worded to say the things that they wanted to say. So they said that it was like their biggest ever new generation release.
Right.
And it's like, well, is that because it's... Did this come out on PS4 or did it only come out on next gen? I think it only came out on next gen, didn't it?
So, yeah.
So maybe, like, I don't know. Because, like, you got to remember, Valhalla came out on the PS5. Like, that was cross-gen.
Yeah.
Black Flag was cross-gen. All of those things. So they've worded it in ways that, makes it look good for them. But in realistic terms, it is good for them. They've put out a banger. I have no complaints other than the fact that I'm shit at gaming.
Something that I would like to do with whenever we do game reviews, besides giving it a score, is give it 3 pros and 3 cons. That doesn't matter what the score is, because let's say you give it like a 3 out of 10, you can still find 3 kind of good things. And then your 3 bad things might be really glaringly bad things. And with a game that's like a 9 out of 10, the 3 pros might be great, and the three cons might be tiny nitpicks. But you can still find 3 that you like and 3 things that you don't like. So, do you have firstly 3 things that you like about Assassin's Creed Mirage?
I wish you'd told me about this before, like rather than just putting me on the spot.
I came up with this on the spot, so
yeah. Well, that's fair. That's fair. Okay,
you can always give them next week if you prefer.
No. We'll do it now. We're doing the whole thing. So, 3 things I like about it. I like the fact that we've gone back to being actual assassins.
Yeah.
And, it's got the whole brotherhood feel. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of different assassins around. I like the speed of the game. It feels like it flows quite naturally. It feels like it's, I can't even think of the way to put it. But yeah, like you said, the pacing of the game is very, very, very good. A 3rd pro. I mean, you can't go past it with an Assassin's Creed game. Visually stunning.
Yeah.
Like they always hit the nail on the head.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
They put a lot of work, research, development into the way these games look, and accuracy. So much accuracy in what they do in these games. So there's that.
Yeah. I suppose they're always kind of playing with history in ways, but
Yeah.
if you know the history, you know what they're changing and where they
Yeah.
kind of need to be historically accurate. They're usually
Yep.
pretty accurate.
Yep. So
your three cons.
Three cons. For me, that bit of the story.
Yeah.
Ask me about it in 2 weeks' time, once people have got through it, and we'll talk about it then, or once you've played it, even, because I don't want to spoil it for everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's my first con. Actually, I do have another pro, and I spoke about it before, and that's the way it ties into Valhalla, and ties up Basim's story, and we understand Basim and why he is the way he is and does the things he does. Even though I don't quite agree with that line of story, but it's a nice twist and turn and all of that for Valhalla. Another con. Some of like I said before, some of the combat stuff, like getting 3 or 4 people onto you at one time can make it quite challenging, especially if your timing, like mine, is horrible. And
So is that sort of controls also feel a bit clunky in combat, or is it that like your character's not really responding to what you're doing, or?
no, it's not that at all. Like, it's just, again, I think it's more my timing. But if you get into a fight and you just sort of hack and slash your way through it, you'll lose quite a bit of life, because you'll get hit a couple of times by others. But if you sit there and wait to try and parry someone, but you've got 3 people there, you might get 2 of them coming at you with attacks that you can parry almost at the same time. Like, there might be a split second between them. So you can only parry one. And then if you do manage to parry one, the other one hits you, and that makes you stumble. And then you haven't got the opportunity to hit your attack on the one that you've parried.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then you might get a third one in there that's coming in with an attack you can't parry. There's a stronger attack that you've got to dodge. And because you've then staggered, you can't dodge that attack, and you get hit twice. And it's like, oh, geez. So it can be quite frustrating. The third con would probably be the skill system.
Okay.
I didn't feel like a lot of what was on there was very necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, didn't really offer a lot until you get right at the end.
Do you think that a skill tree is even necessary in a game like this?
For what it gives you, yes. Because otherwise you're just too OP early.
Yeah.
But like for the first... So it's got 3 small skill trees. For different styles of play or different aspects. So one's for your eagle. And like some of it's just like makes it easier to target enemies, makes you target enemies that little bit further away. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
it's not always necessary to do that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially towards the latter of the game, because like the only time you really want to use that's when you're trying to get into like a really tough area that's full of enemies. And at that point, you've got marksmen that shoot away your eagle, so you then can't use it. And then by the time you get to the marksman to take him down to use it, you've taken half of the place out anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of a con in itself.
Sure.
But yeah, so there. That's sort of the point that I have off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head.
There's plenty there for people to get to learn a little bit about the game. And look, it does sound pretty good. And most of those cons, you know, nearly all of the games in its genre have or similar issues.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll move on. We'll try and smash through these next points. This week, the big news: the PS5 Slim was announced.
Yes.
Now, there are some issues, and there are some non-issues. What do you think to the design of this console?
I think it's a little bit underwhelming. So we've heard for probably the best part of a year now, really, rumors that that Sony were more likely to go in the direction of a slim console, a modular slim console, rather than a PS5 Pro. And that's basically what they've done. They've made a digital edition that is modular, and the standard disc version is not modular, but it is slimmer. The design is a little bit underwhelming to me. I'm not so sure about the two like faceplates. I don't think it looks any more attractive than the original console, and the gains that they've made in making it slimmer, I don't think is really that impressive.
No.
But it still looks good, but so does the original PS5, in my opinion.
Look, I slightly disagree. I think the digital version on this looks fantastic. I like the slit down the side. I think it makes it look a bit sleeker. I'm looking at it now, and I think the digital version looks absolutely fantastic. The disc version, on the other hand, really like looking at them side by side, this is what it reminds me of, okay? So the slim version looks like a nice building that's, in Dubai or, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Looks like it's been really nicely designed. Makes you want to go, oh yeah, that's somewhere I want to be. The one next to it looks like it's straight out of like a convenience store in the center of like Detroit or, some city that went bankrupt like 30 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Like just this big chunky bit sticking out the side.
Yeah, I think the disk drive in the original one is incorporated in a really
Like, I was just looking
way.
over at mine, like it blends in quite nicely into the design.
But what they've done to make the rest of the console slimmer, but they've still had to have the disk drive that section be almost just as thick.
Yeah.
Is there's now a contrast between the rest of the console and where the disk drive is, and it just makes that part of the console look fat.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I also have to quite disagree with what you said on they've gone down this route rather than doing the Pro. Rumor has it the Pro is still coming as well.
Yeah, I mean the rumors are a bit they're a bit up in the air. There are rumors both ways that I've seen from what are considered to be sort of reliable sources that have leaked stuff in the past. As far as I understand, the guy who first leaked that they were going along the lines of this modular slim console
Yeah.
had said that a PS5 Pro isn't in development, but there's nothing to say that he couldn't be wrong. And you're right. There
Do you
have
know?
been.
Do you know who
reports
that
the other
was?
way. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's a common leaker on Twitter. Sorry, X.
Because
I'll try to find it.
I know.
But,
I can't quite
but-
remember who I was reading about. It might have been Insider Gaming or something like that that's been reporting about the Slim coming for the last year.
Mhm.
They've also been reporting that the Pro is coming as well.
Right.
And have been talking for the last year that Sony are looking at doing both at separate times. So we'll get this slim version, which will replace the original PS5, which is what they're saying in the blog.
Uh-huh.
And then the Pro will come at a later date with updated graphics card, memory, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So we'll get an upgraded version of it down the track. And whether or not it will still look like this or whether there'll be a slight change to the look again. It's Sony being Sony, they're going to change the look just to make it pop.
Yeah. So
now-
let's talk about it.
Yes. So, for us here in Australia, not good. $800 if you want the ugly ass version with the disc drive. $680 if you want the beautiful looking Abu Dhabi looking building that is the digital version. But if you later change your mind and you want the disc drive for it, you're going to have to pay another $160 just for that to go on there. That is outrageous. That then makes it more expensive than the disc drive version. To look like a piece of crap.
Is. I am going to very quickly look up the price of a Blu-ray disc drive, but I bet
Ultra
that it
HD
is-
Blu-ray disc drive. Make sure you get it right.
Yeah. It is way, way, way cheaper.
The other controversial point we have with this new PlayStation. There is no vertical stand. And they want to charge us another $50 just for that.
Yeah.
What
That
are you
is-
thinking, Sony? But guess what?
That is
Us
just
marks are going to buy it.
corporatism written all over. Yeah. Look, I think this is ridiculous. The original PlayStation 5 comes with a stand that you can rotate, so you can use it vertical or horizontal.
Yep.
And it comes with PlayStation. It works great. It looks great. It makes the PS5 look good. It's stable. It's very easy to use and modular. And they've gone and built now 2 separate stands and are selling the vertical one separately just to make extra money, as if they need it. I think this is just an absolute rip-off.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Now there is a little stand that does come with it, obviously, to lay it horizontal. And you know what? The slim version doesn't look as ugly, the disc version, when it's laid down.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to aim maybe that this one's more for laying down. The original, stand up. New one, lay down. Maybe that's the way they're looking at it.
Yeah. I would be interested to see.
Do you know what no, I can't unsee it now. You know what it reminds me of?
Go on.
Now that I've looked at it laying down. A cheap art. So you know how we've been talking about doing a video series for YouTube and just buying like the worst, cheapest consoles we can find on like Wish and stuff like that?
Yeah.
The PS5 from Wish. That's what it looks like. The one that you sent me that gave us the idea for it all. That's what that looks like.
There you go. They're ahead of their time.
Far out. And I just want to make a point as well. If you see me keep looking over this way, I've tried a different layout today. Normally I'll have my monitor up behind here with all the video stuff going on. And it kind of feels natural because I'm sort of looking just above the camera to look at Stu, and it feels like we're actually talking. Yeah. I've got that on that screen over there, and I've got everything I need on the monitor above. And I keep finding myself doing this to talk to him. Like an idiot. Like an absolute idiot. Look, back to the PS5. I think it's a bit of a rip-off. I love the look of the digital version. Am I going to go buy one? No.
Look, I'd be really interested. Sorry, go on.
Will I buy one in the future for the collection? Possibly. If I do, it'll be digital. Will I wait for a PS5 Pro? Fuck yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, look, I'd be really interested to see what the cooling of these things is like. Whether or not they've managed to, whether or not they managed to maintain the same cooling performance, fan performance, airflow performance in these models as the original models.
Yeah.
The original models are pretty good for what they are. I have noticed quite a large amount of dust accumulation though.
Yeah, I
original
really
model
need to
PS5.
clean mine.
So I'm interested to see how that would look after 6 months, a year, 2 years of usage, because the vast majority of people never clean out their consoles. They should, but most people don't. So yeah,
just on that, do you have yours vertical?
I do, yes.
I wonder if that's why they're trying to get these horizontal, to reduce dust buildup.
It could be,
because you think like where the extractor comes out is all around the edge. If you've got those lips over it, you're probably going to have less dust intake, because the dust
yeah, a little bit,
like not a huge amount, but it might prevent some, like, because the dust will land on top and then you're only sucking in what comes around.
Yeah.
Rather than just standing up and having all the dust come down and then it being sucked in.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I just thought in terms of design as well, that personally, and maybe this is just a subjective aesthetic thing.
Yeah.
But I think I've preferred the original versions of every single PlayStation console. PlayStation 1, I preferred the slim version. The PlayStation 2, I prefer the original fat one to the slim version. PlayStation 3, I've still got my original fat PlayStation 3 that also has the PlayStation 2 emulator in it, so you can play PS1 and PS2 games. And the PS4, I've still got a fat one. Again, I think I prefer that to the slim one. I actually have both, and I think I prefer the original fat one. And I think with these PS5s, I'm going to definitely prefer the original.
Okay. PS1, I agree with. PS2, I loved the original PS2. But the slim one was so slim.
It was in comparison.
So small.
Yeah, it was tiny. Yeah. Yeah, it just looked like a disk drive. It was,
Yeah,
it's
like
tiny.
it was
Yeah.
crazy, crazy. The PS3, PS2, I'm 50-50 on. Just because how small it was, and it was pretty much the same looking console, just like a fifth of the size.
Yeah.
Um, did they release two slim versions of the PS2?
Yeah, they might have done.
I reckon
Yeah.
they did one that was like half the size, and then they did another one that was like half the size of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember properly. PS3, I'm sit down the middle on. I love the original design of the PS3. Again, though, they went very similar with the slim version. It was
I
quite.
I don't like the matte black of the slim PS3. I much prefer the piano black on the original
Yeah,
one. It definitely scratches easier, but if you take good care of it, it looks so good.
I think I threw mine out.
Wow.
I took
Shame.
well, I took it
Shame.
apart. I took it
Yeah.
apart because the disc. Remember how it all like it blew up on me,
Right.
and there was a disc stuck in the disc drive, and then I got the disc out, and then I put it all to one side, and then something happened, and bits went missing.
Right.
So I was like, well, it's fucking pointless keeping this now.
Mm.
Anyway, as PS4, you missed something. The best looking PlayStation 4 console was the PS4 Pro.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but my point was that the originals look better than the slim versions.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact that
I
you,
do I
the
do
fact,
agree that
the
the
fact
Pro
that you
looks
could
good.
get all three of those consoles and literally stack them up like a pyramid, though,
Yeah.
fantastic design, fantastic.
Yep. Pretty cool. But the PS4 Pro, the fans on it were so unbelievably loud that
So
it was
they were on the
was
PS4 as well, on the
yeah,
original.
that's true. But on the Pro, it was even worse with that thing
Yeah,
trying to
but
push
you know,
push 4K with tech that was like barely up to it.
I could deal with the sound. It's not my fault that you guys couldn't. Even though I was the one with the Pro and you guys weren't. Yeah, and the PS5, I will agree, this one does look better. I think the digital version does lay a bit of a claim, but the disc version, yeah, as I said, PlayStation 5 from Wish.
I kind of agree with you that the new digital edition, the slim digital edition, does look better than the
Yeah,
original digital edition. But I'm just in the camp of like all of the original versions of
yeah,
all of the
yeah. Look,
PlayStations
I'll
are
pay it.
like
I'll pay
the
it. I'll pay
yeah.
it. PS3. Sorry, PS2 50-50. PS3 original slightly better. PS4, the Pro wins out. But yeah, the original's better than the Slim, and the PS5. Yeah, we're there.
And I think also from a collector point of view, they're probably going to be worth the most down the line as well.
Yeah, I won't disagree there. Can't disagree with that. All right, we better move on because we are chewing through some time. So as we've been talking about PlayStation, a news article came out this week, and I've seen it over a few different articles, but the one that we have in front of us is by Sanchez Sequenza, I think it's pronounced, from IGN.
Yes.
And that is that Sony was offered the rights to FIFA in 1997 behind EA's back.
Mm.
Now, I read this story the other day. I'm not going to go into too much of what they say here, but obviously FIFA had been around for, I think, about 5 years at this point, 4 or 5 years. FIFA weren't the ones that were dealing with the rights at the time. Went through a company, I think it was ISP or something like that, IPS. And they took the deal to Sony and said, do you want this? And the head of Sony, or PlayStation at the time, turned around and was friends with the head of EA and said, basically, we're not going to do this unless you guys can't come to terms on a new deal. As, you know, this is your baby. You've been growing this. And to be honest, if a couple of the guys that have been head of Sony since then had been head then, or head of PlayStation, I should say, were head of it then, and had a bit of foresight to see where FIFA and now FC24 was going, they probably could have done some big things. But then again, we might not have got the innovative stuff that we did get in the the late 2000s, early 2010s, where we got things like Ultimate Team and clubs and all that sort of stuff. We may never have got those formats. And, you know, as two people, should be three blows, still not here. I'm going to keep ripping into him for this. As two people that, you know, probably the most amount of our gaming comes in the form of clubs.
Or at least our stream stuff, yep.
Yeah, I still reckon clubs was probably my most played game in the last 12 months.
Right.
And that's with putting in like 150 hours into Valhalla for a second time. 100 plus hours into Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Miles Morales. Spider-Man 2 again. Spider-Man Remastered. Because I was going through and getting the platinums on all those games in the last 12 months. Like, I still play clubs more than anything else.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we hadn't got that, God knows what we would have had to do. Because Pro Evo never really offered a good alternative to that.
No.
So, what do you reckon anyway?
I'm a bit torn about this because I think Sony would have been able to make a good product. They've done a good job with the MLB games over the years.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they would have been able to make a good product, and maybe they would have come up with innovative game modes. Maybe they would have come up with something like Ultimate Team and clubs, etc. in the end anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have come up with different stuff that would have been just as good or even better. Who knows? But it's probably a good thing for the industry that they didn't go behind EA's back. Because, I mean, who knows? Maybe that would have really pissed EA off and fractured a relationship between Sony and EA that would have led to a bunch of games actually becoming Xbox exclusives instead. you know?
It could have led down many different roads, couldn't it? Like, EA might not be as successful as they are.
Yep.
They definitely wouldn't have made the amount of money that they did or have, which then means, you know, we might not have got games like Jedi Survivor. You know, we might not have got the Mass Effect games. There's so many different things, you know, that we could go down and speculate on. But I think at the end of the day, like, the world would have been very different, and, you know, it's all worked out for the best in the end.
Well,
maybe
are we
not.
sure?
Ultimate Team.
It's difficult to say.
Microtransactions. Stop it,
exactly.
please.
Yeah, and we've been complaining for years that the improvements that we get each year are so incremental as to make almost no difference.
Yeah, apart from like the first big jump they make. Like, they changed so much about certain gameplay to make it feel new, and then change it back because we all have an issue with it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't defend for absolute crap this year. Like, I used to be like a really good seasons player, was playing in tournaments at like conferences and stuff like that. I've won one game on Ultimate Team out of like 50 in Rivals this year.
Right.
Because I cannot defend.
And obviously some people have figured it out, but it has changed significantly.
Yeah.
And yeah. It's
really frustrating.
Yeah. That's the only way to put it.
If excuse me, EA had lost FIFA, I will get English out one day. Leads us into the next story. Would Disney be looking to buy them? This news report comes out of everywhere at the moment. Bob Iger is being advised to buy EA and all its developers as Disney considers whether it wants to re-enter the games industry as a major player. Now, I'm reading this by Game Central. It says story by Game Central. It's on Metro from Microsoft Start. Obviously, this is the most crazy story to me that, you know, Bob Iger's come back into Disney. He's tried to right the ship. Everything's gone downhill. They're losing money. Ticket sales at cinemas are going down for him. Movies aren't doing quite as well. He's pulled shows from Disney Plus. He's then upped the price of Disney Plus. And then he's got all these people around him going, oh, look, there's all this money being made over there in video games. Let's go get into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, if they were to buy EA, I reckon it would be one of the worst bits of business for consumers that are going around.
I'm 100% with you on this. I am, generally speaking, behind the vast majority of acquisitions that Disney has made over the last 10 or so years. I think they have, in some cases, they've ruined certain IP. In other cases, they've just mismanaged things. And I think in this case, it's even worse that they don't really have that much experience in this industry, and that's concerning.
Okay, so for me, if they were to do what they did with Marvel, I could see it working.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to take someone, maybe not EA, but if they were going to maybe go look at someone like Ubisoft and just go, all right, we're going to bring you in, but we're going to leave you to your own devices. Just make us money. Let them go over there. Let them play around, do their own thing. And then when the money starts, you know, coming in a bit more, okay, we're going to throw a bit more money their way so they can keep growing and growing and growing and become this big thing. I could see that working.
Yeah.
In the case of EA, we know what Disney are going to do. Ultimate Team, how do we maximise our profits out of this?
Yeah.
How many microtransactions can we get going? Can we put them into clubs? Can we put them into Volta? Can we put them into seasons? Can we put them into career mode? And they'll do that with NHL, Madden, FC. They'll bring back the basketball games just to do it. Although I think they're coming back anyway. I don't even know what other sports games they do, but, you know, that'll be the case. And then I think with the other side of the studio, where you know, we're making things like Jedi Survivor and BioWare over there and all that sort of stuff. They're just going to start pumping out Star Wars games.
Yeah.
And, you know, BioWare may become like a, oh, you're going to make us a Mickey and Donald kids game.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
I think they've put a lot of care into the last, at least the Jedi games that they've made.
They had to.
I suppose I've forgotten the name of the game now, the like fighter pilot one that they made, Squadrons.
Yeah, Squadrons.
Squadrons wasn't great in my opinion.
And that's why Disney were looking for other partners for the Star Wars IP.
Yeah,
that's why they went to Ubisoft and, you know, stuff like that. So,
but the Jedi games do go to show that EA, when they put the time in to get things right, can produce really good games with IP like Star Wars. But I'm along the same lines as you, think that if Disney make this acquisition, it won't become about quality, it will become about quantity. And that really does concern me.
And yeah, and the profit margin.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't even get the words out. It frustrates me that much. But yeah, I just don't think that it's going to be as good.
Do you think I did have a thought before? Do you think there's any kind of possibility? I'm just trying to find a silver lining here. Do you think there's any kind of possibility that they would look along the lines of saying, if you've got a Disney Plus subscription, that you get these added gaming benefits?
I think if they were to buy EA, and obviously they get things like is it King that's with them, or are they at Activision?
I'm not entirely sure about that.
No, it's not King. It's the one that makes all the racing games and that for mobile. There's a couple of big mobile studios anyway over at EA.
Right.
I think they'd probably look at maybe going more down the Netflix route and having like Netflix games.
Yeah.
Like if you pull up Netflix on your tablet or your phone, like there's all these gaming options.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are pretty good. I think they'd move down that route. Try and get microtransactions out of mobile games.
Yeah, it's possible.
And if they incorporate that into Disney Plus, it makes Disney Plus to the shareholders look more profitable.
Yeah, you're probably quite right. I mean, there's also, like, with Amazon Prime, there is Amazon Prime Gaming, but that's incredibly underwhelming. Yeah. I think with that, you get a bunch of, like, classic games included, which are worth, like, a couple of dollars each if you were to buy them standalone. And then you get some benefits in online games, like in GTA, for example. You get a monthly stipend, which is tiny. It's like $100,000 or something, which in GTA Online money is next to nothing.
But they do give away a lot of stuff like that, though, each week, each month.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on Twitch. All this stuff, all the time, all this stuff's popping up. Apex Legends, Fortnite.
Yeah.
GTA, all of that stuff. Plus, you also get a free subscription with Twitch, with Amazon Prime as well, that you can go give to a creator. Which reminds me, you haven't given me yours yet, you asshole.
So there is a possibility that they would do something interesting there, but knowing Disney, it probably wouldn't be that great.
It'd all be about the profit margin and making things look better. So I just don't see it. I really don't see it.
You know, when you suggested Ubisoft, I was just thinking that the last time I was at a Disneyland and I was in the store, I was thinking, like, what would it look like if Disney acquired Ubisoft? And like, I was thinking all of the like Assassin's Creed plushies and stuff that
Yeah.
they would make.
But like I think
Like hidden blades.
I almost see Disney and Ubisoft as a good fit together.
Possibly. Yeah.
Ubisoft are in a bit of an identity crisis. Disney get the Assassin's Creed franchise. As long as they don't mess with it, I think, if they left Ubisoft to just look after that, much as they've let Kevin Feige just look after the MCU without, too much interference, I think it could work. And, they've obviously got a bit of faith in Ubisoft, like they're already doing the Avatar Frontiers game and Star Wars Outlaws, so there's a bit of faith there, and Ubisoft want to get that Star Wars Outlaws game right. You know that for a fact, because if they hit the nail on the head with that game, they're going to turn to Disney and go, well, keep letting us make these games and we'll keep smashing them out the park for you.
Yeah.
And that, again, that's another win for Ubisoft. So we should probably move on to our bracket for the week. Because we are probably running over time. We said we're going to start making these shorter, and they still keep going longer and longer and longer. Still going to be shorter than last week's, hour and 45-minute thing that we put out. That was a big one. 2004. Honourable mentions. Metal Gear Solid 3. Half-Life 2. Rome Total War. The Sims 2. SmackDown vs. Raw. Fable. Far Cry. Killzone. SingStar. Mafia. Pro Evo 3 featuring the only time, or maybe not the only time, but first soccer game to feature a referee on the cover. Also signed. It was nice. It was a nice little touch.
Yeah, Luigi Collina.
Yep.
Great Italian referee.
He's the head of the referees committee for FIFA or something now, isn't he?
FIFA, he is.
Yes. Just absolute legend. Nobody took shit from him. Def Jam, Fight for New York. A lot of people have an issue with this game being on this list, but I fucking loved it. A fighting game where we got to use... The only reason I bought those Def Jam games, realistically, Sean Paul was in them, and I could kick the crap out of him. I spent hours throwing that guy in front of a train. Star Wars Battlefront, Need for Speed, Underground 2, and probably, I know for me, the two biggest releases this year. I think, well, obviously one of them's the biggest release for you. What was your pick for this year?
Look, the game that I've gone for this year, and this was another year that was a really hard choice because there were 3 or 4 games that I did love and played heaps of. But the game I've gone for this year, it probably is in my top 5, maybe even top 3 games ever, because I played so much of it growing up. I think it still stands up to the test of time. Maybe not visually, graphically, it does look pretty bad these days. But the gameplay, the story, the world building, I think it's just fantastic. It's Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yeah.
And for me, it's probably still the greatest game in that series. There are going to be people who disagree. There are some people who prefer 5, some people who prefer Vice City. But
some people that just never played San Andreas because they're too young.
Yeah, San Andreas was just fantastic.
Yeah.
Really, really great game.
Those jetpacks. Those jetpacks, man. It was so disappointing coming back to San Andreas with 5 and having to wait so long to get the jetpacks.
Uh-huh.
Oh, crap, that's my headset. My pick. And to be honest, I think we would have got crucified if we didn't put San Andreas on this list. And for my community, I think I'd be crucified if I didn't put this game into it. Probably the game that I've spent more hours playing than anything else in my lifetime. And at the age of 37, that's a lot of hours. And my pick for this year, the one, the only, the greatest MMO of all time, the undisputed champion that is World of Warcraft. The amount of times I've tried to get this kid to come and play World of Warcraft, and he's like, oh, don't like it. You've got to get into the lore. You've got to buy into it.
You know what? I did play Warcraft 3 when I was young, and I did enjoy it. But I've tried World of Warcraft, I think, maybe 4 times now, at least 3.
I think I've got you to try it twice.
Yeah. And I do struggle to get into it, and maybe I just need to give it more time.
Yeah. I know look, the 2 times...
Undeniably a great game.
The 2 times I've tried to get you onto it have been since they did like the free trials and like they've opened it up to a certain level now for new players to like try before you buy sort of thing. It might also be that you just weren't playing the right character, you weren't playing the right like spec. You know, you might need a different class. And, you know, the game has massively changed now that they've done the level squash, and, you know, you can just sort of pick whatever area you want to go and level up in, and you do that for your entire game. So every time you create a new character, like, you just go to a different area and you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah. Which
is pretty fantastic. Yeah, look, they've done wonders to that game in the last few years, and I'm still interested to see what the future holds. We've got to be close to another expansion. I think one came out last year, the year before. We've got to be close. I reckon next year will be the next expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. But that's all we have for this week's show. Don't forget, every Friday night, clubs. The whole squad's on. We've got Princess. We've got Blowy, if I don't kick him out the club. We've got Pomster. We've got myself, Brennan Hoof. We've got the new guy, Tungy. There's 5 of us. We go hell for leather on clubs.
We usually lose.
We do, but we are in Div 2. Working our way to Div 1. I'm catching up on my games to goal ratio. I'm going to overtake it soon. Scored some absolute bangers last night. Scored another, 10, 15 goals? Just casually in about 8 games. You know.
My assist to game ratio is going down, but my goals are going up. So
yeah.
Even though I'm now playing in midfield.
Yep.
Go figure.
Greedy bastard. That's how. You're a greedy bastard. And every time I call someone a greedy bastard, I get shat on by Tungy, because apparently I'm being greedy. I'm the striker. I'm the striker. I score a shit ton of goals. What do you want from me? If I'm not greedy, I don't score as many goals. If I don't score, we don't win. Them's the rules. Sorry to say. Anyway, guys, it has been a pleasure. Don't forget to get across there. You can find us at Zelo53, Gun Hunter 1998. Yours just Pomster now, or is it your Twitch?
Pomster _gaming.
That is your Twitch?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. And obviously mine is Brennan Hoof. So get across there. I'm not going to put the link in this week under the video to go to all our socials, but you know where to find us at Switched On Squad or Switched On Streams. Just put it in and see what comes up. Jump on Facebook. Jump on Instagram. We're there. Jump on. Find us. I keep kicking this cable and it's going to pull things off my desk. Yeah, because I've heard some things about an algorithm and I want to see if it works. All right. Until then, we will see you next week. Ciao for now.
See you later.